Hey gamers, this is Liz Davis from Beyond Solitaire, and I'm here with a very special guest. This is my friend Andrew, also known as Solitarius. He is another solo gamer and also my colleague at work. We're Latin teachers who game. So how you doing today, Andrew?
Yes, doing great. How are you, Liz?
I'm good. We just saw each other, but now we're in better settings.
Yep.
We had testing today for those of you who care, and it was boring. So now we can have a
Mhm.
great
Yeah,
time making this video.
yeah.
So in true internet form, Andrew and I have come together to make a list.
Mhm.
And our list is basically the top 5 games that really evoke history. You know, we're both game buffs, history buffs, and we thought this list would just really kind of combine those things for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I put a lot of thought into mine. Actually, I was looking over the list that you did earlier this year, this past year about the top historical war games, and this list is a response to that because a lot of my favorite ones didn't make it.
Yeah, actually mine either really on second thought. But my favorites always change, moment to moment. So
Hmm.
I don't even know what order I actually want to go in. So I'm gonna make you as my guest go first. So what is your
Oh, I get the
number
first.
5? We'll go from 5 to 1. Yes, you get to go first.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start chronologically, historically. Well, actually, not really. I have an older one. But we'll start really old. So we're gonna go all the way back to ancient Egypt. Now, Liz, if I were
Ooh,
to ask you, what is one thing that the ancient Egyptians are known for, you would say
I guess pyramids, mummies.
you are so wrong. Auctions. So,
Oh,
yeah. So Egyptologist Reiner Nitzia created this fantastically thematic, historically accurate game about Egypt's favorite pastime, which is auctions. So in this game, you play priests or merchants or something, and you're auctioning maybe tiles, maybe gods to for some purpose of possibly building something, and you're building tiles and trying not to bust, and it's you really feel like you are back in ancient Egypt when you're playing this game.
wow, that's incredible praise. I mean, I really do think the Egyptians had lots of questions about how to build things and whether the
Hmm.
gods were for purchase. So,
Yeah,
it sounds
absolutely.
super historical to me.
Super historical.
Fantastic. So I think that my number 5, most of my stuff's a little older in time period because you know
Hmm.
me, I'm not really much of a modernist. But this year I
Yeah.
really got into a lot of hidden movement games. So I really enjoyed
Okay.
Atlantic Chase this year. I thought it was a brilliant design.
Hmm.
I played Bismarck Solitaire a bunch, a nice little
Oh
Worthington
yeah.
game book. But
Hmm.
just in terms of really evoking, looking for your enemy in uncharted territory, and especially in naval warfare, I just really don't think anything's better than Battleship. I think Battleship is
Oh,
definitely my number 5.
how have I overlooked Battleship? No, it's fantastic.
And it's just
It's
totally, I
fantastic.
mean, it's just totally underestimated as, a historical work. I mean, you really
Yeah.
need to think about where on the grid your enemy could be, and then working out from there if you got to hit which direction or alignment their craft might be in.
I mean, that's really the struggle that somebody in a battleship would have to deal with, for sure.
I think so. I
I-
mean, I certainly wouldn't just be running around on deck screaming.
Is it as historical as the movie?
I don't. I've never seen the movie, so you'll have to
Oh,
comment on that.
movie was pretty. Movie got it. Movie nailed it. I thought.
Fantastic. Yes. So this is a game and a movie recommendation in one.
Yes. What a great
All
that'd be
right.
a great date night. Play some Battleship and then watch Battleship.
I mean, actually, it would.
Yeah.
You could do a lot worse for a date night.
Yeah.
So, for your number 4, what are you
Oh, my
thinking?
number 4. Let me see here. All right, my number 4. I'm gonna read you the flavor text on this one if you don't mind. I'm gonna pull this up on Board Game
Well,
Geek.
please do.
Close my window. Hang on, because really gotta feel the immersion. Actually, maybe you could probably guess from the description what game this is. Um, so, uh, Introduced by the Moors, there's a certain kind of tile that was fully embraced by the Portuguese when King Manuel I, on his visit to the Alhambra, palace in southern Spain was mesmerized by the stunning beauty of the Moorish decorative tiles. The king, awestruck by the interior beauty of the Alhambra, immediately ordered that all of his own palaces in Portugal be decorated with similar tiles. As a tile laying artist, you have been challenged to embellish the walls of the royal palace of Evora. So this game puts me right into the palace of Evora every time I play it, and it is of course Azul. The even from the tiling techniques of taking tiles from people and having to slide them, and if you have too many tiles you don't get paid. I mean, that was a real struggle for the merchants, having too many tiles
I heard
left
that's
over.
actually how it worked.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
totally.
that's how that economy worked. It was rough. It was rough trying to scrape
Yeah.
by as a tile artisan.
Yeah, I have a pretty limited budget, but I'm going to Portugal with my parents this summer, and I had a choice
Mhm.
between getting a Lonely Planet guide or picking up Azul, and I really just felt like Azul was better prep.
Yeah,
Like,
it
I'm
will.
ready. I'm gonna know my way around Lisbon like a native.
Yeah, you'll be able to interact with the natives. You will feel like you are Portuguese when you're playing this game.
Absolutely, and like a real mosaic expert.
Mhm.
Oh
100%.
yes, and not at all hungry because the pieces
No,
really do look like Starburst.
they do, but that's how they did historically too. That's actually where starbursts come from those tiles.
Really?
Historical fact.
I
Absolutely.
mean, it's just amazing the history you learn when you play games.
Well, I mean, King Manuel the First, his like royal motto was "Taste the rainbow." So, I mean, do you see where it comes from now?
All right, so I mean, I just don't know that I can beat that. But my number four is actually a favorite. Used to actually see me play in my classroom a lot. It's a real classic from Reiner Knizia, who's already made the list. Truly a
Mhm.
fantastic historical designer, and
Mhm.
it's also a game from GMT, which is of course
Oh.
the company for historical games. But
Mhm.
this one is my absolute favorite simulation of medieval tournament combat, and that is
Oh,
Ivanhoe. So if you haven't
perfect.
played Ivanhoe, basically you are playing tournaments that are color coded to different styles of combat, and each card has a number on it, and you're just trying to get the highest number. But there are of course a lot of cards like that let you riposte or that let you remove cards from other people's displays in a real punch out that absolutely simulates the different types of medieval weaponry that were in play at tournaments at the time.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing. You mentioned color coding. I mean, I've been to medieval times. They definitely did the color coding, the green knight, the red knight. Yeah. I mean,
Oh my god, you are
that
so
sounds
right.
absolutely astounding.
Now I know where they
Yeah,
got
that
it.
I don't know. I don't know. That's
My mind is blown right now.
well, you just got to appreciate it when somebody bothers to put that level of historical immersion into even a simple game.
Yeah, absolutely. And nothing can beat those purple jousting tournaments. Like the you gotta have a little bit of jousting in your medieval tournaments.
Got to. Absolutely.
Yes,
Well, that's
with a maiden
fantastic.
card is the most powerful supporter because I'm absolutely sure that's how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was a really good pick. Oh, man.
Yeah, you can always rely on GMT for the historical stuff. I've been playing Plum
Oh, yeah.
Island Horror recently too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dripping with history. Um, is it me? So my number 3, I guess I'm on 3. My number 3, I'm actually going further back in time. One, I am also an ancient historian. I love ancient history. But this one takes me a little bit out of my comfort zone because I'm going way back to prehistory. So we're going to
Ooh.
go into the Neolithic period where we learn all kinds of amazing things. Of course, my game is Stone Age. Stone Age
Oh.
is a beautiful Euro game actually, but it immerses you in Neolithic culture. Like for instance, there's a mating hut if you need to produce more people, which was I've heard that they found these ritual mating huts in prehistoric settlements. You learn new things. Like, for instance, did you know that cavemen built their huts primarily out of wood, stone, brick, and gold?
Really? And
And that
gold?
the and that the most precious and valuable buildings were made entirely out of gold. Did you know that this cavemen built golden huts? I mean, this game taught me all kinds of things that I had no idea were going on.
Right, so, I mean, are you saying that El Dorado could have really been an actual thing because people actually were making cities of gold even in the
It
Stone Age?
it could have been, and I also learned that this, Neolithic culture liked to collect stuff. They like to collect sets of stuff, but not the same things, just different things. Who knew?
I mean, people have always been collectors, but
True.
I mean, I would be so interested in seeing how the game reflects what they collected as just a true reflection of who they were.
Yeah. Little trinkets and canoes and little statues. And having and collecting them all apparently makes you the chief or something. It was quite a culture.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, this sounds like something to be paired with a museum visit to see what the how the collection and the in the museum and the museum and the game pieces actually match up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Amazing.
I bet it just seems like a lot of careful research went into this game. It's just amazing how immersive it is.
Absolutely. So I think that my number 3, is actually, it's got some stuff in common, I guess, with your number 4. This one,
Mhm.
however, takes us to a different time period, in which everyone is a gem merchant. And you are
Oh.
really struggling to collect gem mines and then
Mhm.
to refine your gems more and more, and then you have contact with these really amazing historical figures like Mary Stuart, Charles V, Machiavelli,
Mhm.
and like even Henry VIII
Oh,
is in there. Yeah, so I
wow.
mean,
What
if you
game
want
is
to
this?
meet and like, oh, this is Splendor.
Oh. What that was Splendor was my number 6. Mhm.
Yeah, I can see how it could be a close call. Everything on your list has been really solid.
Yeah, it's close.
But, yeah, I really think that, just really getting that contact with important figures of history, through
Mhm.
what mattered the most to them, which is your gemstones, because clearly they weren't inheriting large amounts of their own. Um,
Mhm.
it's just really, like, a really special way to, interact with great figures of the past.
Oh, absolutely. I was gonna
Oh,
say it's a
continue.
little known fact that on the cards, on the aristocrat cards, each of those, like, types of gems that they want were actual historical favorite gems of theirs. If you look it up, those are actually their
Really?
favorite gems. Yeah, they put a lot of work into that,
Oh, like
getting
in the
that right.
paintings and stuff?
Yeah,
That's
if you
impressive.
check it out,
And I
you
guess
you'll see
the
a lot of those types of gems.
And I guess the numbers must reflect, like, their relative wealth in terms of types of assets that they owned.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's the universal, ancient aristocrat wealth scale system. That's a real thing
Yeah, I
that
totally heard of that. I
you
think
can
that
look
came
up.
up in one of my seminars one time,
Yeah, yeah. Well, my number 2, we're back into the, medieval period or maybe the Renaissance, depending on how you look at it. This is another one that, I think people might miss some of the historical immersion by not reading the back of the box. So this is a game. Again, I'm going to have you see if you can guess which game this is. Let me pull this up here. Okay, you are a monarch. Like your parents before you, a ruler of a pleasant kingdom of rivers and evergreens. Unlike your parents, however, you have hopes and dreams. You want a bigger and more pleasant kingdom with more rivers and a wider variety of trees. You want a Dominion, of course.
Oh,
Dominion.
man.
Yeah, now here's the best part of Dominion. This is the part that people miss. This is actually from the back of the box. But wait, it must be something in the air. Several other monarchs have the exact same idea. You must race to get as much of the unclaimed land as possible, fend them off along the way. To do this, you'll hire minions, construct buildings, spruce up your castle, and fill the coffers of your treasury. Listen to this. Your parents wouldn't be proud, but your grandparents on your mother's side would be delighted. So when you're playing
Wow.
Dominion, you're not only trying to get more property, more power, more victory points represented by the land that you own, but you're also trying to please your maternal grandparents.
If that's not a historical problem, I don't know what is.
I know. Well, that's what these ancient dukes and duchesses would do. They would grab some new land and then they would say, "This is for you, Mima. This is for you." That's how they would do it. So I'm really just fascinated by who these grandparents are that you're supposed to be trying to win over. It's just it actually sheds light on a fascinating historical mystery.
You are so right.
Yeah. I've always found it intriguing.
Yes, and no wonder. And now that I think about it, all those different configurations of cards that you can play within Dominion just really reflect real cultural shifts at different
Mhm.
times throughout this period.
I mean, the smithy, you get more cards. There's that guy that
Absolutely.
turns your small money into bigger money. I mean, that's not economics. I don't know what is.
Exactly. And, that careful calculation of how many of each card you need and then what order to buy them in truly reflects
Mhm.
the economic conundrums of the Middle Ages.
Yeah. Or the Renaissance, or both.
I mean, they're really the same.
Yeah. I mean, it's most historians would say that.
Exactly. I mean, come on. Although that said, my number two is also a game set in the Middle Ages. And definitely not in the
Oh.
earlier Egyptian period where I prefer to study this topic. But
Mhm.
there's just nothing more historical, and not fictional at all than, really trying to solve a murder mystery among monks. And,
Yes.
especially when you're trying to solve that mystery by like ringing a little bell, searching into their
Mhm.
cells, going to the
Mhm.
scriptorium to do things other than like write and copy stuff for hours. And so
Mhm.
obviously I'm talking about the mystery of the Abbey.
Oh, fantastic. Yes.
Exactly. That map looks
Oh,
like the layout of so many abbeys that I've studied over the years.
I've heard that it was based on a real historical abbey.
Yeah, and it's just really amazing. Even the relative sizes of the individual monastic chambers, compared with the
Mhm.
scriptorium, the library, the ability to listen in at the confessional booth.
Yeah, well, they all had, like, those secret spy places, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it really captures the essentials of the monastic day.
Yeah. Especially the murder part. It was dangerous.
Yeah, and also, like, of course, it'd be dangerous with all those different monastic orders all crammed into one place.
Oh, yeah. It was a bloodbath.
Yeah, I really don't know how they did it. It's incredible that we even still have monks today after such a brutal tradition. You could just play
Yeah.
Ivanhoe, it'd be the same thing.
Well, that's interesting. You get the like, the royal, side, the secular side of the culture, and then you get the, religious side
Yeah, I mean, it's just where
of the
murder
place.
happens in a more shadowy way that you have to investigate as opposed to right out there on the field.
Exactly. Fantastic. No, that's a great historical simulation.
But that leads us to number 1 on our list.
Alright, so, now I feel like a historical, list would not be complete, without, because I'm a more ancient history guy, but, I mean, one of the most common, themes in wargaming and historical gaming is World War II. World War
Oh,
II was
yeah.
obviously an enormous conflict. There are so many battles, so many things, so many generals, so many maneuvers, things to focus on: land, sea, Europe, South Pacific, all over the world. So my favorite game is the one that tries to encompass the entire conflict in a single game that's played in a very short, reasonable amount of time, and that is Risk. I
Oh,
think
man, how
Risk
did I not think of that for my list?
I think Risk, I think you can actually just teach a course on World War II and just have your students play Risk. I mean, I don't think it is a masterclass, playing through it. You will learn all the names, you'll learn all the strategies, you will learn
Absolutely.
all about the Australia problem, where you could just gather your troops in Australia and grow and grow and grow. I mean, that's what happened. That's where the Allies, had their stronghold. So yeah, it's just you just learn so much from that game.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I remember in class, we talked about things like the Zimmerman telegram or the Battle of the Bulge, but really, Australia is the true linchpin of any world war. I'm really surprised more
Yeah,
Napoleonic games don't include it.
I know, and you can even reenact famous things like when Rommel invaded Brazil. I mean, all kinds of stuff can be simulated, with Risk.
Oh, it's amazing. And I really wish that they had something like that for the Romans. I mean, I really think that Pandemic Fall of Rome isn't cutting it. We need something that is more like Risk.
Well, and, what's great about Risk is if you actually play Risk from beginning to end, it lasts roughly the same length as World War II. So it's a pretty close simulation.
Yeah, actually, I think I have a game of Risk that's still going.
Yeah. Well, everybody does. If, nobody's actually ever finished a game before, but this doesn't mean that you can't learn a lot from it.
Absolutely. There are small games like the Campaign for North Africa, and then there are truly epic games like Risk.
Exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely. I've got a friend who's playing World in Flames right now, and he said, "Man, this is the second biggest game I've played compared to Risk."
Compared to Risk, I'm telling you,
Yeah,
Risk is life.
absolutely. If you don't take risks, what are you really doing with yourself and your time on this earth? So
Yeah.
I've got a much more boring pick for number one, but I'm hoping as a
Okay.
classicist you'll appreciate it. And
Okay.
I always want more tactile ways to teach our students about Rome and how to get around the
Mhm.
city. There's so many amazing
Mhm.
monuments there, the Forum, and
Yeah.
there's even like the Domus Aurea now, the Colosseum. So,
Mhm.
I really have decided that the best way to teach about this has to be, if you can afford it, Foundations of Rome.
Oh,
Truly an
yes.
incredible representation of architectural growth in a major ancient city.
Yeah, absolutely. And, yeah, and, it's roughly the same size as ancient Rome too, from what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even a room for ants. It's got to be a room for at least hamsters or something. Um,
Yeah, exactly,
but
exactly.
it's really amazing how you can build the whole city up in a grid system,
Mhm,
where people actually had steady deeds to the land, were able to negotiate that in different shapes.
mhm.
Um, those buildings actually made people money instead of like being the public works projects we think of them as so often. And also,
Yeah.
people really seem to think that Rome contained housing and poor people. But the
No.
Suburra is kind of a myth.
No, I
Mm-mm,
hadn't thought
no,
about it, but I can't think of a better, more historical ancient Roman game.
I know. And like aesthetically, it just really, the perfect pristine. I prefer to play it unpainted, because I
Mhm.
just think that evokes the very plain white marble look of
Yeah,
ancient Rome.
yeah, which is exactly what Rome was. It was all white marble and no color.
Absolutely. No tackiness for these people.
Mm-mm, not at all.
No. But yeah, I really think that on my next trip to Rome, I'm gonna prepare by playing Foundations of Rome and just really seeing if I can reconstruct the real ancient city.
But you will run into the Foundations of Rome problem, which is when people play it to prepare to go to Rome, they don't even wanna go to Rome anymore. They just rather play Foundations of Rome.
Yeah. I mean, it is pretty nice to play the version that, uh doesn't showcase every single hill, I guess. It is a hilly place, Rome.
Mhm. Yeah.
Except that we now know that it's not because it's perfectly flat
Mhm.
when you play Foundations.
There were no the hills were a myth. The hills were a myth for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially the eighth one. But with that said, it's just so fun, to get together and do a list. Andrew,
Yeah.
I've really appreciated your
Oh,
incredible historical sensitivity as you come up with entries for yours.
this is a blast, Liz. This is a blast. Thank you so much.
So, if you're out there looking for games that are really going to teach you something about history, we hope that you feel free to refer to these lists. In seriousness, they are all very fun games to play.
Mhm. They are.
And for those of you who are out there, if you haven't gone to Andrew's channel yet, he's called Solitarius, and he has awesome videos. They are definitely better than mine. He knows what he's doing, and I do not. And I can, of course, be found here at Beyond Solitaire.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was super fun. I never thought I've been watching Beyond Solitaire for like 8 years, so I never thought I'd actually be on the show. So this was great fun.
Yeah, actually, I'm just so glad that I've gotten to spend my last year with a neighbor who actually plays games. This has been awesome,
Oh yeah, it's
especially
been
with your
fun.
incredible historical understanding.
Yes, that's I am history
Uh,
or nothing. If it's not historically immersive, it's not on my shelf, as you can see.
Absolutely. So, for those of you who are out there, please like, subscribe, comment, ask questions, and most of all, happy gaming.